Come to Helmuth Ford, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Hi, this is Stacy from Shetler Insurance Services. Come see me on the east side of the square in Sigourney for all your insurance needs.
Steve Shetler Media once again proudly presents Pekin High School football live video streams each Friday night this fall with home and away games and the playoffs. Tune in Friday nights for Pekin High School football right here on Steve Shetler Media, Facebook, and YouTube. Skunk River Radio, country music from 1990 through 2010 with some Iowa country music sprinkled in. Listen at skunkriverradio.com, download the app, listen on Alexa by saying, Alexa, play Skunk River Radio on TuneIn. You can listen to me, Steve Shetler, each weekday morning from 6 a.m. to noon and listen to The Haze from noon to 6 p.m. Skunk River Radio, online radio for country music from 1990 to 2010.
Hey, this is Buff Bagwell, and you're watching the Card Subject Change podcast. Check it out.
Welcome back to the show!
Welcome back to the show!
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and never wrong, Nick Bull.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fan for the fan. We are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, and colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. And I am your host, one of your hosts, the Wizard CZ. Never Wrong Nick Bull will hopefully be able to join us here as we get into the episode. He's been a little delayed right now. That's why we're a little late going on, but no problems. Before we get started, I'm excited for our guest, but before I bring him in, I got to give a huge shout out to Central Empire Wrestling and Bridge City Slam for welcoming us, the 2 Count and Shotgun Wrestling Radio, into the midst yesterday for the pre-show that we were able to do. That was a lot of fun, and kudos to them for another excellent Bridge City Slam. I'm excited for next year. We're going to be doing the podcast pre-show one more time. That's going to be fantastic. But like I said, without further ado, I'm super excited. Today in studio, we have an Iowa legend. I've been wanting to speak with this gentleman for a long time. He's been a part of so many great things here in the state of Iowa and in the Midwest. I'm just going to bring him in and let him tell his story. Let's welcome into the studio Mr. James Jeffrey. James, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, my friend. How are you?
Man, I'm feeling good. I'm a little tired, but it's a good tired. You know, it's like we were talking off air. It's been a couple of busy weeks. I'm excited for a little bit of a rest, but I'm also excited to talk with you today.
You bet you. Well, thank you for having me on. You know,
absolutely.
I'm excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
Not a problem. I'm glad you're able to make it. I'm glad we were able to carve out some time for you. James, I'm going to kick things off, and I'm going to ask the question that usually Nick fires off to all our first-time guests. Why pro wrestling? What was it that got you hooked?
So I used to watch wrestling growing up. My mother tells me that my dad would sit me on his lap, and we'd watch WWF Wrestling Challenge and Superstars.
Okay.
My dad was always a wrestling fan. And it was just something that we watched together as a father and son. So, throughout like a lot of the WCW and the WWF, Monday Night Wars, just always watched together. So I just developed a fandom that way. And I can remember I was just thinking, man, you got Cops and Papa Shangos and Ultimate Warriors and Hulk Hogan's and Superfly Snukas. And I mean, you had all these superheroes on television. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. It's like, man, these are real people that are like cartoons. So it was something I always enjoyed watching. So it was, and as the years went by, I'm like, hey, I really want to be a wrestler, like some of the, guys and gals I watched on TV. So it looked like a pretty fun way of life and a fun athletic sport. So
absolutely. Do you remember that moment where you said, I have to do this?
So I was probably junior in high school, and I was watching wrestling, quite a bit and researching it and everything. Excuse me. And my mom took me to a WWE house show, and it was a real good time. It was the first time that WWE had been to Rochester in 10 years. I grew up in Riceville, Iowa, and Rochester, Minnesota was just an hour from my house.
Okay.
So that's where I went to matches, was either there or up at the Target Center. But I can remember like just sitting in the crowd and being like, hey, I got to do this. This is what I want to do with the rest of my life. And just wanted to find any way to get into it. So
that's awesome. I want to back up a little bit. You're talking my wheelhouse, Monday Night War era, the Attitude Era. Were you a WCW guy or were you a WWF guy?
So I liked both, but I would say I loved watching Stone Cold, and I liked watching, Sting. So okay. I'm gonna say I watched more WCW when Sting was feuding with Hulk Hogan and the NWO. Like I remember that build pretty well, and Lex Luger too. He was kind of the first threat to the NWO when he beat Hulk.
Yep.
And then Hulk beats him back, and then Sting, he's doing his thing every week. So I felt like there was just so much good stuff on that I'd say I watched more WCW up until Sting beat Hulk, and then kind of shifted over. I feel like, if my memory's right, I feel like after Sting beat Hulk, Stone Cold was starting to get hot.
Yeah.
So I definitely watched more Stone Cold and more WWF after the big Starrcade match. So, but yeah, I like both of them quite a bit.
In that regard, the Starrcade match, there was a lot of disappointment in how that turned out. Was that something that maybe swayed the tides for you to go over and watch Stone Cold, or were you all right with the ending of this Starrcade match between Sting and Hogan?
Yeah, I was all right with it. I watched the tape of it after it happened. We didn't watch it on pay-per-view or anything, but I didn't really understand things like that when it happened. Right. That it was kind of a screwy finish and stuff like that. And I felt like the way they explained it on Nitro and Thunder after that, I was like, okay, no problem. I think what swayed me over to the WWF was just Stone Cold was doing such crazy stuff with Vince McMahon and various others that I didn't want to miss that. And I actually got to see him wrestle live one time too, Stone Cold, when I was in 4th grade. And people just went nuts for him in the live crowd. And like Dad and I always enjoyed watching him. So I just think for whatever reason, yeah, I just went more heavy into the WWF stuff after the Starrcade match.
I can understand that. And I don't know that there is ever going to be a rivalry that can top what Stone Cold and McMahon had.
Right.
That's one of the greatest rivalries, in my opinion. There's some that come close. I would put Bret and Shawn up there. But that rivalry that they had, as a as an adult now, it's not something I would have thought about back because I was in high school during this time.
Yeah.
But as an adult now and having bosses that I really wasn't a fan of, how cool would it be to just be able to punch your boss in the face and get away with it?
Man, it'd be great. It'd be great. I feel like everybody'd want to do it, you know? Like, yeah, it's just sometimes your boss gets on your nerve, and Stone Cold was the only one that stood up to his boss, you know? It just was I think it was a pretty special time, you know? Grew up in a pretty special time with the Monday Night Wars and kind of the shifting from the golden age of wrestling to a little bit more edgier. So it was a neat transition time.
And WWF, whatever, needed to do something because WCW was just blowing them out of the water, and they were still having these cartoony, I have to have a second job characters that just wasn't working. The crowd wasn't gravitating towards them. They wanted something more real now that the NWO had come into play.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, and yeah, Hulk being a bad guy was a pretty big thing too. You know, he all those years as, you know, red and yellow good guy, and then told the fans, hey, I did it for the money, you know, and just, yeah, they needed something, you know, and it's, I don't know, it's pretty fascinating, and, you know, to look back on it now and watch a lot of that stuff on the internet and Peacock and things. It's pretty fascinating.
And I love that. I'm one of the guys who would flip back and forth. I wouldn't flip back and forth live. What I would do, I would watch Monday Night Raw, and then WCW Nitro would always have a replay immediately following. So I'd click right over and I'd stay up late and watch the other guys.
Oh, very nice.
My thing right now, I've been going through. I just had this itch to watch WCW Monday Nitro from the beginning. Yeah. So I'm not quite to the NWO yet. I'm in just started April of 96. 96.
Nice.
But I was upset with Peacock because they took Monday Night Raw away when it went to Netflix. All of the archives of Monday Night Raw are gone. I was going to go back and watch them both.
Yeah, I noticed that there are not as many on, or it seems like there's not as many on Netflix, right? Maybe they'll add them all later on, but
they have best of things on Netflix, but it's not the same as the actual archive.
Oh yeah. People like to watch the full shows and stuff. And did you ever tape one show and watch the other live? Did you ever do that?
I remember doing that a handful of times.
Yeah, I used to do that too. You know, record WCW and then watch Raw one week, or vice versa. So
Nick's always been big in the tape trading days, and that was a good time. I think that's a lot of people. You know, we've talked about WWF and WCW. There's another player in the game, maybe not as big, but tape trading days brought ECW into the limelight for a lot of people.
Yeah, that was a cool promotion too. You know, actually Fritz von Erich in his book talks about he was a fan of ECW, you know, when they were coming on. He said it reminded him a lot of the things they were doing in Texas with World Class. But I can remember watching them when they were on TNN. I can't remember if it was opposite roller derby or how that worked, but it was first thing I saw of ECW was the Jerry Lynn and Rob Van Dam match. And
okay,
it was really cool. You know, I'm like, man, there's another promotion out there, and, you know, good stuff.
It was an exciting, and you know, it kind of feels like now, you know, back then and now, I can compare the two together because there was such a multitude of things you could watch, maybe not as easily accessible as today.
Yeah.
But I always look at wrestling. There's a couple of different ways to put it. I always think of it as a buffet. There's something there for everybody.
Yep.